So, I won the very recent Celeste Open Lockout Bingo Tournament. And I'm gonna rewatch the finals here with you. And I even won the last expert bingo Celeste Lockout Bingo Tournament. I'm undefeated in the past half year. So I'm gonna go through with you through the grand finals and my decision making to analyze how I even won this and what my decision making from me was, from my opponent, what we could have done better. So if you don't know Celeste Lockout Bingo, we have a board of 25 objectives, randomly 25 objectives that are tiered into how fast and easy they are to complete. And if someone takes an objective, the other person cannot take that objective anymore, and the first person to take 13 objectives wins. So we're playing through prologue. We are not skipping cutscenes because we try to read the board, so that's just a rule that we're not allowed to skip the cutscenes. So this board, you see, there are quite a lot of objectives. This is quite a lot. So let's focus on the first fast objective here, which is 5 berries in 3, for example, and the top right is a pretty fast objective, and all berries in start of 4A. Also, outside blue heart is another fast objective in the top row in the middle. So you can either just go get some fast berries or rush the blue heart. I am trying to go for some fast berries, while my opponent gets the winged berries, because there are also winged berry objectives on here. But they will ignore a lot of berries, but actually they will get enough for 5 berries. I'm a bit slow here. I made some mistakes in my execution, because execution always suffers quite a bit when playing bingo, because you have to not only think about your routing choices and figure out what you want to do, you also have to play the game well, right? And normally you just focus on your gameplay instead of thinking about like a million other things. But Verdal here got both winged. I only got one because it is in the first room of Chasm. So I can just go back for that very easily when I want to. We both decide here that outside blue heart, even though it would be the first objective you could get here, is a bait, so we don't go for it. Because we could get outside blue heart here, but that would be a detour of like 20 seconds, and that risks us of not getting 5 berries in 3 and all berries in star 4A. And those are 2 objectives for the cost of only 1, right? And you then also lose progress towards where is it? 15 berries in 4A. It's in the top left, second row, second column. So we try to just get some fast berries, and you will see that Verdal is getting some slower berries than I get here, which actually matters because our execution is very similar. That like I'm getting some faster berries, so I'm also a bit faster. Of course, Verdal made some mistakes, but in general, I did get some faster berries than Verdal, because I only need 5, right? So yeah. So I'm getting the progress lead here, doing my very own top route strat here, or not my very own, because I was not the one who found it, but I haven't done it in years. And there are other routing choices here, like one of us could have played 2B, for example, first pass, because it doesn't lose that much, and you get progress to binoculars, watchtowers in this game, because there are used 9 binos on the board. There is used 6 binos in B-side specifically, and there are 3 blue hearts and 3 red hearts, which red hearts you do get very easily. Like red hearts you get from completing a B-side, and just having a B-side out of the way early might help. But if you do that, you get also a blue heart first, right? Because you don't get the berry objectives, so you would need that heart. But because I did not see the also blue heart take, I knew that Verdal is right behind me and doing the exact same thing. So I'm immediately stopping and taking. The board is a bit early because we don't have a delay on the board. So don't be confused if the board takes are slightly earlier. So I'm here getting the wing. Verdal is also right behind me, but getting the cassette instead. And I'm deciding here the cassette is not worth it because I want to get the second objective more safely. You can get... Also, I forgot to collect there immediately. That would have cost me if Verdal didn't go for the cassette. But because I see also blue heart is not ticked yet, I just quit out here and go for it. Because Verdal now has a deficit of 2 objectives, so he desperately needs another one. And that is also what he thinks, so he quits out here and goes for the blue heart as well. So I get the blue heart, lock him out, so he wasted quite a bit of time doing that, and is now just behind me. Well, I have 3 objectives, so this looks pretty rough for Verdal, but it's definitely not over. There's only 3 objectives on a board of 25 after all. So he goes into 4B. So 4B has 4 binos, which of course gives you progress to 6 binos, the B-sides, and 3 blue, 3 red hearts, and 9 binos. And 8 binos is also on the board at the top left, right? So that gives him quite a lot of progress towards those objectives. So he has like 4 objectives here, or like progress towards 4 objectives here, which is really good for him that he went there instead of just following me, right? If he continued to follow me, we would just race for the same objectives and he would have no coming back here because he would get just the same objectives that I do, right? So this is a very good play. I do have some mistakes here because Ridge is just a hard chapter. Just happens, right? Especially if you also, like I said, execution suffers if you play bingo because you have to think of your routing. So the next part here is getting 15 berries in 4A. I planned it out perfectly that I will get this with the very last berry here, and after which you have to think about what your next goal is. So you can either just go back into Resort. If Resort is a good play here, I don't know. It could be definitely decent because there are 2 mess orders on this board. There's Crab plus Sweet on the board. It also gives you Ringberry progress. It gives you a relatively easy blue heart to get, especially because there's a blue heart order on there. But that does mean you will not get progress. Also, another thing I did not mention is you do have assist skips. So we did skip Resort here because it did not have a lot. Because like you can see here, I have 4 objectives by skipping Resort, and I get earlier into Reflection. Because if you finish Temple or skip Temple, you unlock Reflection and Summit with our progression rules in bingo. But that also means the B-side in 4B is pretty long, so you see that Verdal has quite a progress disadvantage here now. But he does have, as you can see, 6 binos so far. But there are also quite a lot of reflection objectives here, right? There is hit a Kevin from all 4 sides. Blue heart in reflection, blue and red heart in reflection. Blue and red heart also works toward 3 blue, 3 red. Even though the reflection B-side is not that fast, so you probably want to get another B-side if you really want to get 3 blue, 3 red. Also in reflection, there's a bino. In 6B, there are 2 binos. So there's also reach rock bottom, which you can do in 6A or 6B. And because you have to finish 6B instead of 6A if you want to get the top left objective here, you play 6B for rock bottom, which is from, if you have 6B unlocked, like 2 minutes as a top level player. There's also Crabless Lake. So my priority here is to get into reflection as quickly as possible. So I play the B-side because the B-side is faster for any percent, right? So I will hard try to focus on that. And because Verdal played 4B, he is very, very far behind me into these progress objectives. But if he doesn't try to contest anything, he loses, right? So he still tries to play for progress and get into Reflection Summit. There are also the binos on the way. Like he collects here his 8th bino, and also puts out here for the winged or something. Yes. Okay. I did not show anything after 50 berries in 4A, so he probably can guess that I play progress. So he tries to get something on the board now, so, and there's a quick objective here, which is complete chasm without dashing, which is like 30 seconds if you're good at it. I think maybe a bit more. And Verdal is a top level player, so he is pretty decent at it. Well, I'm just now here trying to finish Temple, but I missed this button a few times. So I here know that Verdal does not have a lot of progress, right? Because he spent those 40 seconds getting this, right? And now he is also getting binos and cassettes. So he has a lot of seam delay, so he's getting this cassette, and then after that getting the bino for 8 binos. And especially he ticked it early because I could have been in Summit by now. Of course, I don't want to be in Summit because Reflection has so much, but it's definitely a possibility, so he takes that. But that also gives me the clue that he played 4B, because how else would he have so many binos by now? So what I do here is show that I have the late game progress here by getting hit all berries from all 4 sides on this Kevin block, ticket, and then I quit out, because I know Verdal does not have the progress. So I am just trying to get other things to force him to contest me, right? Because if I lock him out of stuff that he can do, he has to follow me and then lose, because he cannot follow me and get the same things that I do, right? So what my plan for that is there's 7 winged and 8 winged. So you can get 7 winged before going into Summit, but you cannot get 8 winged. So I'm trying to get into 500 meters, because there's the first winged berry there, and then quit out. Because even if I get locked out of 7 winged, I can 100% just get 8-winged. Because at this point I knew that Verdal either plays Progress or plays something like 3A. And he will probably play 3A because following me in 6A is just a lost cause, because he needs other objectives here. So that's why I try to contest him, to force him into following me. Like, I will follow him behind into 3A, but I don't need the 3A objectives, right? I just need a bit more. So Verdal will get one mass order here. He cannot get both, right? One mass order, 7 winged, because he is closer to 7 winged than I am, and he realizes that, so he quits out. He does not have Old Trail unlocked though, where one other winged berry is, so he has to play like 20 seconds until that berry. There is still, of course, Pico, which unlocks also in Huge Mess, or like you can get there in Huge Mess. You're not allowed to just play it from the main menu. So Verdal has 6 winged berries here, and gets into a wake for his last, and I am entering 3A because I am missing 1 berry for 7 winged, which is like 40 seconds for me, and then the other berry for 8 winged berries is in Mess. So Verdal here takes 7 winged berries, but would have to play Summit for 8 winged berries, but he has no progress for that. So he is now trying to play for progress, but I still will beat him to progress, right? Because I have 1 Summit checkpoint finished, and I have 1 Reflection checkpoint finished. So I will play like another like half a minute, 40 seconds to get to the 2nd ranked berry, and then just quit out, because I know that Verdal is here, or like was here, right? So he could very well just be delaying a mess order, and I don't want to get locked out of playing a mess order, right? Because that would just be a waste of like a minute and a half, if or at worst. So I know that Verdal has to play late game at some point, especially 5B, because 5B or even 5A at least gives like 1 objective, right? So I'm locking him here out of 8 winged berries, and then I'm trying to get the reflection stuff, right? Because he has to follow me here into reflection, because there's still a lot left in reflection if he had finished this so far, but I know that he hasn't done it yet, but I still will try to finish this quickly. I am just immediately ticking this and then going for the reflection blue heart here. I don't have to get the cassette and play 6B immediately, because even if I don't, he is probably not reflection, so he has to waste quite a bit of time to get here. And there is Binds on B-side green, so that means he is going into B-side here, but in 1B. But that also means I know that he cannot like contest reflection and summit at the same time. So now I'm just going into summit, because there is still the summit cassette on the board, which is pretty quick, especially if you also want to get berries on the way, because there's 15 berries in 4 chapters and 100 berries, right? Like, those take quite a bit, but Verdal knows that I have berry progress, because I got all berries in Star 4A and 15 berries in 4A, right? And 5 berries in 3. So that means, especially because Site and City are pretty fast for berries, I can play to the cassette here in Summit and get some berries on the way. I don't think I'd actually get some berries on the way, otherwise I would have gotten the right side berry, because I can always get berries in 5A, because 5A has a lot of berries, and there's 5A on the board separately. I'll still try to get the cassette here, because I don't need a lot actually to win here. I can just do whatever I want. Not whatever I want, but just like increase my objective count to get closer to 13, because I have the 2 objectives in Summit, not on Summit, in Reflection, and Verdal probably too scared to contest these, because I definitely could also just have continued 6A here, right? I'm quitting out here and playing a mess order, because I have not seen a mess order tick yet, and I saw the 1B tick and what else, so I know that Verdal has not done both mess orders. Oh no, I'm actually going into Pico. Okay, yeah, but I'm going into Pico and then into a mess order. So the Pico tick is here. I don't know if I actually go into mess order. I could just be lying here, actually. Okay, I'm retiring and actually going for a mess order. So I'm pretty practiced at this, and I know that Verdal has spent some time having to ticket, so I thought that I would just win this, probably. And Verdal is also going for the other mess order. And he could not have done this, like, after doing the mess order, right? Because this order, like, goes back to the heart here, right? So you don't even go to Pico. And also there's a good save for me. Refreshing my dash by tipping my toe into the water. This is a bit risky, but I basically also I forgot to go to the hard order. I don't know what I did here. I was probably looking at the board, and then things happened. But yeah, it doesn't lose a lot of time to go to a Shiro instead of to the hard, but it definitely does lose time. But I am taking the mess order here first. The mess order also gives me access to Shaft, so if I want to play Sweet here, I could, but I will just not, because if you count objectives here, I can get Summit Cassette, reach rock bottom, and blue and red in Reflection. That gets me to 12, and then I can just play berries, right? Like, I can also just get reach and rock bottom and then just multitask. I will talk about multitask later first. But I have some cassette here, because why not, right? Then I don't have the cassette in 6A, so I still need to go back here to get the cassette. And also I delayed the cassette slightly. I delayed it until I entered 6A, just because the slow animation, and also I knew that Verdal could not have played Summit, right? But this is looking pretty rough here. I just have set up my win con here, so you just have to know when you have your winning objectives and just focus on them, right? And I have 10 here, so getting to reach the rock bottom is my 11th objective. I'm not sure if I quit out here or not. I forgot. But also, Verdal here is getting the heart first before going into 6B, which is a mistake. Because, yes, he needs the heart, but there's also reach rock bottom here on the board, right? So, he has to play, he should play 6B here first, right? Because that means he gets, he can contest reach rock bottom, and if he finishes 6B, he then can still get the heart, because the blue heart, it's like basically save speed if you get it like last or first, right? It barely changes the timings. So you 100% want to get it last here, because reach rock bottom is on the board. If reach rock bottom was not on the board, then it would make sense, because it is slightly faster to not have to do the menuing. And also, I had a pretty rough 6B start, because the checkpoint is impossible, so that timing difference definitely can matter here. Those like 20 seconds? Maybe even more, actually. But yeah, Verdal delayed the mass order tick for obvious reasons, because I just ticked a mass order and I could not have delayed that with how I did my ticks. Or at least it doesn't make sense to delay, because I knew Verdal was in 3A, right? So I would never delay a mass order here, but Verdal can then delay the second mass order because I just played one. That means I cannot immediately have the other one, right? Because you don't have to tick immediately when you get an objective. Okay, so I tick reach rock bottom, and I also like unpause and wait a bit to be further in the checkpoint, because if you pause on the first frame of the transition and quit out of the chapter, you don't unlock the checkpoint. So I desperately just unpaused there, and I can just do anything here, right? Because I do have 11. I could get to 12 by just finishing 6B here. And also, you see that Verdal is not far behind. So getting the 6A blue heart definitely mattered here. But yeah, I know that Verdal probably is not finishing 3A, right? Because he has to contest me either on berries or on 6B, I mean. Right? Because those two are my win cons here. So I'm trying to just get one more miscellaneous objective so I can multitask both things here, right? Because if I get one more objective, I get to 12. Then I just need one more objective, so I can just do a 6B checkpoint, then a lot of berries, and then if 6B is not ticked yet, I can just finish 6B. If berries are ticked, I can also just finish 6B, because Verdal cannot do both at the same time, right? And I had more progress towards both objectives. So I have 12 here. I'm going into 6B here because I can just finish one objective, one checkpoint here, and then quit out. Because the play here in Verdal's position to win this is to finish 6B and then delay the objective for a minute or two, so he gets berry progress in the meantime, right? So that would mean that I waste all my time here spent doing 6B while he is getting berries. So he's playing 5A here, which makes sense because 5A gives him 5A is an objective on the board, and also playing through 5A gives him some berries, some quick berries at least. But that is also my thought process here. So I could out here because I knew Verdal could delay this, right? So I will just finish 5A here actually, because Verdal has to get berries, finish 6B, and finish 5A. He cannot do everything at the same time, like I said. So if he finishes 6B and 5A and locks me out of both, he has no berry progress, right? So I still win because he has less berries than I do, right? So Verdal here is quitting out because he knows he needs everything, right? Because I am at 12, so he needs all three objectives: berries, 5A, berries and 5A. He's a very good berry player, so he's definitely getting this quickly. But this is pretty hard, especially because I already finished one chapter with berries, and I know that Verdal played 4B, right, because of the Binotic earlier. So I know that Verdal has no berry progress, besides the beginning berries, because I also read that Verdal did that as well. So yeah, this is basically over now, because I am not quitting out here of 5A, because I saw the 6B tick. I was in the secret room when that was ticked, if you consider the stream delay. I also thought that he might have ticked it while being in Unraveling, but he probably ticked it when leaving Unraveling. But also I'm getting berries on the way here, because berries in 5A are pretty fast. So yeah, I'm not quitting out here, so this is GG here for this first match here. Hope you understand my routing decisions here. And definitely GG here to Verdal, because this still was... I hard read everything Verdal was doing, basically. But it still was pretty close, because Verdal definitely did the right things. It just wasn't enough, sadly. But yeah, this game just shows you, if you can do the right plays, you can definitely come back from from like this 4-0 deficit. You just have to also realize what you have to do as the person who is winning to secure your win, right? It's very easy to just lose your advantage by not thinking about what the counterplay to your current route is, right? Like, if I wouldn't have played 3A here, for example, for 8-wing the mess order and grab the suite here, that would, like, those 3 objectives, if those would have gone to Verdal, Verdal would have won those, right? Because Verdal had 13 then, right? It definitely is very easy to lose an advantage position here. But GG to Verdal here. That was the 13-point objective point, because I finished 5A in the meantime while I was talking. So let's watch the second match. So let's talk about this board. What do we see here? See here? We see 5 berries in 3A. We see get a 1-up in 4A. We see get a 1-up in 2 chapters here as well, right? And 15 berries in 3. And 75 berries, but that is more for later. But that also means that berries are strong here. So what I personally am doing here is trying to get a 1-up and carrying it with me through like most of this chapter, because I personally know, and I'm pretty confident at a progress 1-up, because it barely loses time to carry these berries behind me, and I normally should not die here. So yeah, I'm getting this last berry here, and I'm just collecting these and getting this 1-up. I'm not getting a berry here, the wing berry on my right. There is 4 wing berries here. So you see here, Verdal did not get the 1-up, but got the 2 wing. So Verdal's plan here is to rush into 4A here and not be distracted by the berries, because that means I only get a 1-up into chapters and maybe and not even 5 berries in 3, if he plays it well. If he plays it well, he gets 1-up in 4A, right? 5 berries in 3 and 4 winged here, right? So skipping the 1-ups here that I am doing is a very good play here for Verdal. Also, I'm doing a slow 1-up. I don't know where I'm going, because normally these berries are pretty slow. Okay, but I'm getting the 1-up here and then going back. But that means that Verdal here has like a 20-second lead into 4A, right? I'm getting 1 objective, and I probably should have skipped it here. This is a really, really good play here from Verdal, not getting baited by the 1-ups. Like, I thought I will get the 1-up into chapters, because it also gives progress to 5 berries in 3, right? But 5 berries in 3 can be done way quicker if you don't do a 1-up, or if you do 2A 1-up in intervention, but most people don't practice that, myself included, because why would I? From this point onward, this looks pretty bad. Like, but I don't know this yet, right? Like, there's also all collectibles in 2A. I definitely could have gotten all start berries if I was already there, but the 4A stuff is pretty important. There's also blue and red in Rich. So getting the cassette in start is also important, but getting the cassette means that you might be slow to 4 winged berries, but we will see how this plays out. Verdal uses his assist skip here as expected on 3A, because you can just skip 1 chapter in this game, in this game mode. Verdal here is going for the 1-up and is so far ahead into it. So, and I'm now turning behind him. But you see here, Verdal died. This is terrible for Verdal. Absolutely terrible. He did skip the 1-up early to get this 1-up, but now he's not getting this. And because he died with the 1-up, he didn't have the berries for 5 and 3. So I'm getting both of these objectives, even though I shouldn't have. This is terrible for Verdal. And Verdal decides here to just go and get the wingberry berries quickly, because he needs that wingberry, and he got already 2 in city, so he needs to go back and go into site. This also was my play here, because I thought Verdal just did the same thing I did. I just locked him out. Verdal here had definitely a moment. He had to re-enter this checkpoint. This is very lucky for him, because I wouldn't have quit out here and went into 2A if he immediately ticked this, right? So I had to quit out here, get to the go into side, and then go back, which means that we're pretty even here on progress now. Progress doesn't give you that much actually here. So what we mean with progress, what is on the way, and what is in reflection and temple, right? So what is on the way towards reflection and temple? Basically Crapless Unraveling if you want to play 5A, because it also gives you progress towards 5A side, so you probably play 5A here on this board. You could also play 5B, because 5B is the faster chapter here, right? But yeah, so that's the only progress, that is the only on the way objective, and the objectives past temple here are hit a cavern from all 4 sides, bottom mountain hollows because that is a reflection, the summit B side, 3 gems in summit, the reflection cassette. That's it. So there are like 5 objectives in progress. Like there is switch to ice on the right side, right off into the core, but if you are not familiar with lockout rules, core is already available from the start, but you still need to get hearts, right? So you don't normally play core immediately. So there's not a lot of progress here, so you could also play 3A here, because 3A gives you access to a Tiyo cutscene, gives you access to Oshiro stuns. Oshiro stuns is at the top, right? Under that is All Berries and Shaft. And that also, of course, gives you berry progress for the 75 berries and 15-3. There's also a mess order, and Resort has winged berries for 6 winged. And also, Resort gives you progress towards 5A sites here, right? So you definitely could also be in Resort by this point. But we both decide to just play for progress here, because it just gives you more options, right? If you have progress. We definitely am just doing the same now. But Verdal here is a bit further ahead, even factoring in stream delay. So he's turning on Crapless in the cutscene, because you cannot turn on Crapless immediately when entering, but to be fair, you can just turn it on the Crapless variant when at the bottom or something, because you don't grab here at the beginning anyway, so it counts. You see here that Verdal is a few ribs ahead, and also, by the way, Farewell unlocks after beating Witch here. That is also an important fact. So this game, even though it is 3-1 here, is actually could go either way still, because Verdal will get Crapless Unraveling here if nothing tragic happens, and then we are 3-2, and we have no idea what happens after that. I see the take here, right? Or slightly later, I think. But yeah, I see the take. I still don't turn off Crapless. I don't know why, actually. I just didn't want to do the menuing, I guess. But that means to me, I cannot just tailor behind Verdal all the time. So I'm turning off Crapless here, and then critting out of 5A and going into 3A. Like I said, 3A is a decent option here, because there is not a lot of progress stuff. So Verdal is finishing 5A here, which gives him the progress advantage and progress towards 5A sites. While I am here in Resort, I will get some fast berries on the way because of 15 berries in 3. Right? Because Resort has quite a lot of like berries that are not far out of the way. Other chapters have like full rooms that I need to beat for berries, while for Resort it's like just in the same room as normal. And I'm just going back here to secure 6 winged berries, because Verdal definitely also could have done the absolute same thing, because I can just get this winged berry, quit out, and get also the chasm ring berry, then get the depths ring, or I could also play. Okay, no, I'm getting the depths ring because I need to would have to do a mess order for the mess winged berry. Right, so I'm getting this. Verdal got the reflection stuff in the meantime, because Verdal did not see me take anything for ages, right? Because the beginning of 4A was the last tick. So he's getting the 3A stuff, and I know that he's in 3A, right? So I'm even delaying this, because Verdal could never have delayed this, right? So I don't need to insta-tick this. So I'm delaying this a bit just to waste Verdal's time here and just follow me behind and not being able to contest this, right? Because if you 100% am sure what your opponent has been doing, you can just delay this, right? And I knew he had to play at least a minute more of gameplay, right? Like, even if he delayed it. So I'm taking it here at like 50 seconds, because I knew that, like, I definitely could have delayed it longer, but also I didn't have to delay it for that long, right? I just delayed on a very safe margin here. But because Verdal is here in 3A start, in the, like, was roughly at the winged when I ticked it, he is right following behind me. So I am wasting even more time by the perfect delay, because he thinks that he might have relatively similar progress here in 3A. I'm getting the berries here in the meantime for 15-3, like I said, and getting the progress here in mess, and I'm also delaying the mess order slightly until I'm entering to a start. Like here I'm ticking, you see my game freeze because I tapped out to tick, because I ticked it a bit later, so that if Verdal tries to counteract this play by doing the same thing, he has to spend the time menuing. And that is also what happens here. He counteracts this by one of the faster things on the board, all berries into a start. Of course, I already had berry progress, so I would have even won that if I insta-ticked this, right? At least likely, or at least on the shaft exit. But you see here how delays work out well. You bait your opponent into doing exactly what you want. And I insta-ticked this because I knew this was the perfect counterplay. I cannot delay this. And I'm also now going back here for the cassette, because there is 2 binos in 4 on this board, and all collectibles into A, especially all collectibles into A. And if I'm already here in to A, I can just go back for the cassette and get it. And I didn't want to do it first pass, because the time spent in on getting the cassette might have been enough for Verdal to catch up. I'm here now finishing shaft art, because I don't know that Verdal trailed behind me in start art, so he could have finished mess in the meantime, right? So I'm trying to secure this by just getting the shaft berries and then unlocking the next checkpoint for Ushio stunts. I don't have to get Ushio stunts immediately, because I can just do that whenever, when I have time, right? So I also forgot the key here, so I need to. So I'm just going back up to the demo and just do the demo with some pause buffers and unlocking the next checkpoint before quitting out. And here, my thought process was, if Verdal is behind me, and I know he played 5A, he might be doing cutscenes. But that is actually a misplay here, for me. I should have just gotten the stuns, because Verdal does not know that I actually was in 5A behind him, right? Like, he doesn't know that. Like, that could have also all been delayed by quite a bit, and it was, right? It was perfectly delayed, everything. And that means he is just finishing 3A. It also gives him 5A sets, right? So I definitely should have done Oshiro stunts here and then did cutscenes, because I definitely couldn't have gotten 5A sets here, but he needs to finish 3A for the A sets. So that here is a misplay. There's also Crapless Sweet on the board, so it just makes sense here for Verdal to finish 3A. It definitely was a misplay here to not at least get Oshiro stunts. You see that it takes over a minute to get all of these cutscenes. And Verdal uses their time well to finish 3A with Crapless because of the Oshiro stuns, also got that berry, and yeah. So that doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. This is very, very good for Verdal, and this was the only way for Verdal to come back here, by me not making, not getting this immediately. Because Verdal gets 5 A sites, Crapless Sweet, and Stun Oshiros now. 3 objectives. I could have gotten at least 1, but very likely also 2, if I hard committed. And now I'm only and then 3 with cutscenes, with Tiyo cutscenes. Now Verdal gets these and is now even with me. So you see how one mistake, like we had one mistake early from Verdal where he died with berries, and now a mistake from me that makes this game very even. And I went into 5A last year because, contrary to Verdal, I don't have Reflection and Summit access, right? So this now is looking very bad for me. Also, I'm delaying the Tiyo cutscene tick here a bit, but I'm still critting out here and getting berries because I'm very close to berries anyway. He took quite a bit of time to get the reflection, the resort stuff. So I thought that he might have also gotten some berries, and the taking a bit of time was because of my delays, right? Because he was falling behind me. So I'm just trying to finish this to not lose another objective that I had saved. So yeah, and also I knew that he probably had berry progress from the start of the game as well, right? Like, I couldn't have known that he died with the 1-up, right? Like, my thought was just I just had bad execution, which technically is true because he died with a 1-up, but he was further ahead, right? So yeah, because there are not a lot of berries left, so I'm just getting some fast ones because this doesn't take long. In the meantime, Verdal is in Summit because there is 3 gems in Summit, right? And Summit also has the B-side, but the B-side takes ages. And there are also binos, right? There are like a million binos on the way in Summit so far. There are like 4 in 1000 meters, 3 in 500 meters. And there are also 2 in the second checkpoint of the B-side, right? So it makes sense for Verdal to be here, to get the binos in Summit here, and of course the gems and the cassette for the B-side for later. I'm finishing all collectibles into A here, because all collectibles into A, this gives me 15 in 3, right? Because I have 15 in the other chapters. So I just need to get this berry, or the next one. Yeah, this berry to have 15 in 3 chapters. So I'm getting this, and then just finishing the other few berries of intervention, because a Raked Winged I got earlier for the winged berries, and Startup I finished earlier as an objective. So I need the last few intervention berries and then get the blue heart, which gets me to 10 here. While Verdal is spending time getting the binos. But also that means I have berry progress, right? So that gets me to 11. And I got earlier a heart in 3A, which means I have hearts. I have a lot of hearts for core. So I need to get some hearts for some more blue hearts through access core to get another objective. And Verdal forgot a gem earlier, so he's getting the 1500 meter gem instead, which is faster than replaying a 0 meter checkpoint for the last gem, for the gem there, because it's at the very end. Verdal is seeing here that switch to ice on the right side of core is a very important objective. So he is also trying to get some blue hearts here to access core, but he has basically no blue heart progress. So I'm getting here first because this is a pretty quick objective. There are not a lot of like quick objectives left on the board. He's also delaying 3 gems in summit because he knows I have no progress, or like he knows at least that I spent time doing all collectibles in 2A, the 15 berries in 3 and stuff like that, right? So that means I can get this, but I still have no progress. But Verdal is sadly here behind me and failing faster here, which does definitely not help. But yeah, so I'm insta-taking this because I knew this is an important objective. So what is left on this board, right? There's 2 binos in 4. There's blue and red in rich. There's 75 berries, bottom out in hollows, 7B, and 5 keys and power source. So here Verdal is in 6B. This might seem weird because it's not on the board, but in 50 seconds of 6B gameplay, there are 2 binos, right? So this is very fast to get 2 binos in a single chapter, especially if you already had access to 6A and needs it for bottom out and hollows. There are no other binos in 6A besides 1, and you need to get it in a single chapter. The different sides do not count after all. So I am here finishing 5A because that gives me access to faster binos in Summit, right? It also gives me access to the Summit B side, and of course Reflection. I could have also just went and got the cassette in 4A, but that takes a bit. And for what I know, Verdal could have just gotten the cassette when I locked him out of 4A. Wait, no, he couldn't have gotten it, but because he got 4 wings so quickly, right? It still gives me more options if I finish this, right? Because even if I play Summit here, which he has more progress to, I am getting some berries on the way for 75 berries. Just having in mind that I can just finish another objective to get to 12, while then having more options to multitask at the end of the game. It's pretty good. I could have just gotten 75 berries immediately, like before unlocking late game, but that only gave me then 2 options to multitask, which is blue and red and rich, and 5 keys and power source, while this gives me 4 options to multitask here, right? 7B, Reflection, Rich, and Farewell, right? Which is way harder for Verdal to lock me out of all of those. So Verdal is here in 7B though, and got 2 binos in 4 chapters with the 2 binos in 500 meters in 7B, and is finishing this checkpoint because why not if you have only 2 more, yeah, the room you were in and, with the last bino and that last room. Verdal knows here that he has to contest me on berries because I got 15 and 3. Yeah, 15 and 3 berries and all collectibles into A. So I have a lot of berries. Verdal also knows that I have to get another objective to get to 13, and you normally leave your WinCon objective to the very end, or at least you leave it until you have more options left, like I do here. And sniping 75 berries is the only way for Verdal to win this, right? Because if I get 75 berries, like I said, it is very, very rough for Verdal here to multitask or like to soul read me into getting 4 objectives here. You can see how strong berries were here at the end, because I got all of these berries objectives. Verdal probably should have done all collectibles in 2A earlier to lock me out of that, because that gives me like way less options then. I unlocked 1500 meters here and am just now finishing this because I know that Verdal has to contest me on these berries to win this. So because I basically now have the options that I need to win this, I am finishing up my Wincom because it barely takes any time to get these last few berries. Then I can just multitask like 5 million things. So I'm here at 75 berries, taking it immediately. I'm just going into 7A to get the cassette at least here, because I have no idea which chapter Verdal got 2 and 4 binos, right? Because that could have been in any chapter. But Verdal sees that this is really, really hard to win, so he forfeits here, as these are like 4 objectives that are so out of the way. Soul reading all of this is like pretty much impossible if I play this correctly, and he knows that I'm a good bingo player. So yeah, I won this final 2-0. Verdal is a very good opponent here that knows what he has to do to win this. One mistake in these high level matches can just seal the deal. But of course both players make mistakes. Like in the second game, like I said, I also made a mistake with the 3A stuff. I hope you enjoyed this review of this bingo match. This is the first kind of content that I do like this, but I thought this might be interesting to some, and especially if you want to get into Celeste Bingo, you should join the community events Discord, where players from all different skill groups search for bingo games. We also host bingo events relatively regularly, but the next event will be Celeste All Red Berries tournament, so definitely look forward to that, and leave me feedback on this, and here you can see all my info. So goodbye everyone, and see ya.